Wonderful. Hello, everyone. We're just going to give folks a minute to join the webinar, and we'll get started in just a minute. All right, looks like folks are joining. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in just a minute. All right, we're going to give folks an opportunity to join, and then we'll get started. All right, so I think I'll get started while folks are joining, just reviewing the agenda today. So first and foremost, welcome to the Hunger Free Communities Quarterly Meeting. And we really appreciate you joining us today. I'm Minerva Delgado. If you don't know me, I'm the Director of Coalitions and Advocacy at the Alliance to End Hunger. And today's agenda, we will have a presentation from Bank of America on their Better Money Habits training resources. And we are joined by Mohammed Khan. After that presentation, we'll give some space for our Hunger for Community partners to make any announcements or just share anything they'd like to share with the group. And then we have a few items from the Alliance to End Hunger. We'd love to do Hunger for Community Summit debrief with all of you, and hopefully some of you attended the summit and could give us your feedback. We do want to share with you an overview of the proposed Alliance to End Hunger policy priorities for 2022, as well as talk a little bit about updating our Hunger Free Communities impact framework and hopefully by that time we'll have Amanda. It looks like Amanda's with us now. Welcome, Amanda. We'll have Amanda Bankston and we'll introduce her a little later. And then finally, would love to hear from you, do a little brainstorming about any topics you have interest in us pursuing as a group in 2022. So any topics for our Hunger Free Community Quarterly Meetings, or anything for the summit, or anything you think at the Alliance you'd like us to dig into with our community-based partners. So given that, I will ask that if you do have any questions, that you add them to the Q&A as we go. We will definitely pause towards the end of Mohammed's presentation for any questions or comments or discussion, but feel free to raise your hand or type something in the chat or the Q&A in the meantime. But I will go ahead and stop sharing my screen with the agenda, and I will turn it over to Mohammed Khan, who will introduce himself. Thank you so much, Mohammed. We look forward to your presentation.
Minerva, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. As Minerva mentioned, I'm Mohammed Khan. I am a vice president at Bank of America, and I've been with the bank for since around 2019. You can say I've been with this bank, but been in finance for about just over a decade right now. Came here from JP Morgan. So have been in different various roles throughout the financial world in my time, both at JP Morgan and over here now at Bank of America. Today I'm here as a Better Money Habits champion, and hoping to give everyone here on the call sort of a little bit of an overview about how our Better Money Habits, how our Better Money Habits education actually works, and get you to familiarize yourselves with our Better Money Habits website, hoping that at the end of this call that you would be able to, have some sort of familiarity where you can go and get resources for financial habits, how, you can actually kind of leverage the tools that we're about to show you to other people who are in need and folks that you work with, and certain financial behaviors that you can implement yourself along with passing it over to others. And lastly, also, if your organization needs someone like myself or any of our colleagues and Better Money Habits champion across the US to come and present to your organization, how do you get in touch with us? So if you'll excuse me just for 1 minute, so sorry about that. I am trying to get the screen share running. Minerva, would you be kind to let me know if the screen is visible?
Yes, I
Oh,
see your PowerPoint.
all right, fantastic. So, what, Better Money Habits is it's a program that Bank of America had actually come up with years ago. This is a program that we've actually put together through all of our non-for-profit partners, and it's basically it's basically some tools and resources that we believe are able to help certain people in all types of communities in finding ways of better, better enhancing their own financial wellness. And one of the things that we need in order for this program to be successful and uh, for more people to have awareness of these tools that are available to them is through partners like yourself in the Hunger Alliance network. And before we actually move on, I do also want to mention to everyone that understand that we are right in middle of the holiday season right now, and you are doing a very important work in which you're going out and you're feeding people that are in need and that are that may possibly be struggling this year more than others. And we're hoping that the tools that we're able to give you is something that you may also be able to help pass on to them, but also something that you can implement in your own lives as well. As you work to take care of other people, we're hoping that our resources can help take care of you. So the Better Money Habits is, again, as I said, it's the support and resources that you need in order to manage your own financial basically to manage your own financial self. And some of the key questions that we like to ask when we put together this program is, what are we doing to save our money? What are we disciplined in paying off our debts? And how do we manage our expenses on a monthly basis? How do we react to certain emergencies that come up in our lives or unexpected changes in our lives? And Better Money Habits is sort of the way of making sure that we can, it's sort of like a guide of what you can do to kind of manage those unexpected situations in your life. Today, as you know, in the world where, COVID-19 has kind of changed everything, many of us are in virtual environments. It's also understandable that in today's environment that it may be very hard for some people to go out and maybe find work, or they may be struggling with their existing work because of the changing nature of the world we live in today. And hopefully, like, Better Money Habits is a system that can kind of help engage in those personal, that can kind of help alleviate some of those financial stresses and, teach you a little bit more of the behaviors that you may have. So Better Money Habits is basically it's not a mobile app, but it's a website that is designed to pretty much work on any type of mobile that you have. The content that we have on the website is very personalized, And it's actually we have several topics that we cover with videos, and it's basically a guided experience when you go through those videos of how you manage certain things like your bank account, how you manage your credit cards, education on how do you build credit, certain rules as in how much money you should keep in your savings when you're looking to respond to certain emergencies that you may have. And another thing that we should also put in there is that it is available in the Spanish translation as well. So definitely helpful over there for individuals. If you look at the slide that we have over here, slide number 5, you'll see that it's basically the homepage of Better Money Habits, and
Mohammed,
Mhm.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but all I see is the opening slide. So have you been advancing the slides?
I have.
Sarah, can you tell me, have you seen other slides? It may just be me. All right, now I see a different page.
Okay. All right. I have 3 screens over here, by the way. Apologies. So
Okay.
needed to
No,
know
that's
that.
fine. So if you need to go back to show us earlier slides, it's totally fine.
That is fine. So give me 1 second. Yeah, I was worried that I was on a different slide over here. Here we go. So this is basically the welcome page. As I mentioned, that it's designed to work on a mobile, but it's not really a mobile app. It's mobile friendly, and there's a lot of personalized content within the Better Money Habits website. There's videos, topics that are discussed, certain things such as building savings, building credit, how to manage your expenses, what to do to put away money in a sort of like for an emergency or a rainy day fund. And lastly, the website is actually in a Spanish translation. And just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek over here, this is the Better Money Habits website, the landing page. There's topics over here in the landing page that could be of interest for anyone that actually goes in through the website. And give me 1 second, just move on. Apologies for that. So as you can see, just an example of something that you have over here. As I mentioned earlier, the world's pretty much changed right now with COVID-19, and we live in an environment where, financial wellness is actually very important for many of us in today's world, navigating through COVID-19. What are some impacts that people feel? Just an example that you can see over here where we have sort of some financial guidance on how do we cope with the impact of the coronavirus. So this is just one of the things that is just an example of things that we have over here. Now, moving on, the Better Money Habits, the resources and the tools that we have over here in Better Money Habits is the toolkits that we have. They're very much geared towards people of all backgrounds. So it could be the tools can be used for individuals that are looking for economic mobility. It can also help those the veterans that we have in the military that have come out of the military. And it could be for individuals that are looking to achieve financial independence, or it's also geared towards people like high school students, college students. We also have a lot of education in there for small businesses. And a lot of the materials that we have within the Better Money Habits Resource Center is they're downloadable. They are you can basically use a lot of these. You can take a lot of these resources offline. And let's say, for example, through your work, you find someone that is looking to like maybe better themselves, or maybe they're struggling something that you can be of assistance on. you can basically, give those resources. And it could touch on subjects such as, how do they control their finances, if they're saving for something, what is it that they're saving for, the importance of building credit, healthy credit. And for someone who may be looking to get on a pathway to home ownership, also have those topics available over there as well. I'm going to skip over a few slides over here because they do cover the individuals that the Better Money Habits is targeted towards. If you just give me 1 second.
That's fine. And while you're finding the slides, you'll be
Mhm.
sharing these slides with us, correct?
Correct.
All right, wonderful.
All right. Now, here's the important part where we actually, is important to most of our fellow participants on this call. The toolkits that we have in the Better Money Habits, again, these are resources that you can use in your day-to-day work, where you would be able to present these to individuals that are very much in a needy situation. Each Better Money Habits has toolkits where a presenter can actually not only download the materials, but there are certain scripts that they can use. There's preparation guides, including, if you're looking to target the presentation towards a particular audience, slides just like the one that I'm using right now, and then also worksheets in which you'd be able to, kind of deliver the material that you're looking for to an audience. And whenever you approach any type of presentation in which you are giving education to people about some of the things that they can do in order to make their own financial habits more healthy, some important things that we look at here today that touch all of us are basically, what is our income being used for? Where's our paychecks being, allocated towards? And we analyze basically ways that people actually spend their money, and also how people can maybe cut back on their money. And some of the tips that we cover on financial habits is just that, is how does one set up a sort of like a spending plan for themselves? What can you do to maybe take public transportation rather than driving over to work? For individuals like myself that live here in New York City, or maybe some of the other, urban cities, public transportation is definitely a more efficient way to get around than driving. Other things that we also analyze, like what can we do to cut down on our phone plan? Probably one of the biggest expenses that we see. And also taking a step back and understanding what are things that we buy very often and perhaps don't need. I know it may be a little, I know it's a touchy subject for me to say, hey, cut down on your coffee, because I know everyone can't function without. But I like to approach that question more so in a way that, hey, are you okay brewing your own coffee at home and taking it out and maybe drinking it on the subway? Or maybe you may have a pantry at work that has free coffee here. Do you really need that Starbucks coffee that may cost you more, and eventually when you do it daily it just adds up? And then some last topics is, do you really need to eat out every day? What can you do to cut down on your expenses? So perhaps maybe pack food. And then also tied into that is the item before that, which is, what do you do to stick to a grocery list? And by sticking to that grocery list, how do you become disciplined to make sure that you're only purchasing what you need and not just picking random things off the shelf when you go grocery shopping? So just some things to consider over here. Also, moving on to the next slide. To access Better Money Habits, the website is over here, bettermoneyhabits.com/community, and as we said, directly onto your browser. It is mobile friendly. The Better Money Habits, if you click on the Educational Resource Center, you can actually use that to take resources and be able to present that over into a wider audience within your own organization. If you need somebody to come and present to you, you can always, get in touch with us. We have Better Money Habits volunteer champions pretty much located all across the US and every state. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of colleagues like myself who go out every day. We touch on different topics, some of which I've touched on right now that may be, very valuable to certain individuals who may not have access to them. And if we are able to go out and relay that message on behalf of you and our organization, we're more than happy to do that as well. And I think I'm 10 minutes earlier than I expected to finish. So Minerva, maybe I'll give that back to you.
That's totally fine. And I would love to open it up a little bit and also maybe bring in Wen to introduce himself with Bank of America. So hopefully folks on the call know Bank of America is a member of the Alliance to End Hunger and wonderful partners with us, which is why we wanted to invite them along to talk about their financial habits, resources. And just to reiterate the offer that Mohammed made earlier, they actually have experts all over the country because Bank of America is everywhere pretty much. And if you would like one of their Better Money Habit volunteer champions to come to do a presentation with your group or with a group that you work with, we can facilitate that. So that is something that we're happy to do at the Alliance, to put you in touch with the right people in your community. But let's go ahead and open it up for any questions or comments that folks might have. Feel free to raise your hands and I can unmute you so that you can go ahead and chat with us. Or type your question in the Q&A. All right, I do see a raised hand. Let's find that. And I'm not sure, tell me if you can unmute yourselves. I'm struggling a little bit with these controls here. All right. All right, so Wen, I see that you have your hand raised. So we're going to, Wen, I think you can unmute yourself and just speak.
Whenever again?
Yes, we can hear you. And go ahead and turn on your video.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for letting me do that. I didn't want to scare everybody. Are we good?
Go ahead, you have the floor. Yes.
Thank you very much. And I thank my teammate Mohammed for presenting Better Money Habits to all of you here with the Hunger Free organization. Brenda Suits and I appreciate all that you do to help with ending hunger to individuals and families. And as Mohammed said, while you're helping to end hunger, you also realize that being hungry or being fed requires the management of your finances to help with that. So if you're able to get nutritious food from a food bank, that's one less expense on your budget. As Mohammed mentioned, the spending plan is so important that we recognize what we're spending our money on or what we don't have enough money to spend on. So that's all good for us. I'd like to leave all of us to remember that, unfortunately, this is the time of the year, as Mohammed mentioned, where we are all financially stressed. Whether you have wealth or don't, from Halloween through January, when the credit card bills come in, we are all financially stressed, more so than any other time of the year. So we have materials in bettermoneyhabits.com. We have materials in resources in our Better Money Habit presentations to help with our financial habits. Yes, we know that we need to save. We know we need to lower our bills. We know we have to start documenting what we spend on, but are we doing that? And unfortunately, the last financial disaster back in 2008 have taught us that most Americans, 60% of us, do not budget. 60% of us do not have a savings plan, an emergency plan in place. So this is why we created Better Money Habits. Non-commercial. We're not an infomercial here for Better Money Habits. We're not an infomercial for Bank of America products and services. This is all about financial habits for individuals and families. And we want to ensure that you get to meet your financial goals. And one of those goals could be to just get rid of debt. That's important for all of us. And the other thing about bettermoneyhabits.com, the contents in there, they're short. The videos are 4 to 7 minutes. There are little articles in there, 1 to 2 pages. And there are infographics that are illustrated graphs of habits that we should all maintain. So if you need more information about this, if you want to help yourself or help others with this, Better Money Habit volunteer champions like Mohammed are all over the country, as he mentioned, and we're here to help. And we have a mailbox that you see on the screen right there, bmhchampions@bofA.com. Please go into that mailbox, send us your requests, send us your help, send us suggestions. We welcome your suggestions for better content, for updated content. Just let us know what we can do to help everybody with achieving financial wellness. Minerva, we thank your organization for having us today.
Win, thank you so much. Mohammed, thank you so much. And I think you made a great point, Win, in that, you know, we can all use better money habits. I mean, I think most of us on the call work for nonprofits. And so, you know, nonprofits aren't famous for offering really high salaries. So, you know, I know so many of my friends and colleagues are in a place where they could also use these better money habits. So I would encourage all of you to take advantage of these resources and connect through us at the Alliance or directly through this email if you want someone to come out and talk to staff, maybe train your staff, train your employees about better money habits. So thank you again to Bank of America. Really appreciate the partnership and all of this information. We'll be sharing this out with the other members. I don't think we see a question right now. So I think at this point, we'll just say thank you. And we're going to continue to share this information out with our partners.
Minerva and team, happy holidays to all of you. Stay safe.
Happy holidays. Be well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
So, so just moving on with our agenda here, I'd love to just open it up. I know when we do this, sometimes groups are kind of shy about sharing any news that they might have, but we would like to just open the floor since it's the Hunger Free Communities meeting, just for any of the groups that are on the call today to share information about any resources you want to share, any news or accomplishments you'd like to share with the group before we get into some of the content from the Alliance. So I'll just go ahead and open it up. Any upcoming events? I see Alicia, maybe I can put you on the spot. I know you have your conference coming up in the first quarter of the year. Maybe you could share that information out with folks. And if I'm gonna go ahead and unmute you. I'm gonna, just so that if you want to speak, you can.
Hey there. Yes.
Hi there.
I was
Welcome.
not sure how to unmute in the webinar.
It's fine. And go ahead and introduce yourself. And folks, go ahead and raise your hand if you want to speak, and I'll unmute you.
It sounds great. I'm Alicia Powers. I'm the Managing Director of Hunger Solutions Institute here at Auburn University. And as Minerva mentioned, we will be hosting a summit on March 17th and 18th. It will be virtual and registration is free. It is a student-focused summit. It's Universities Fighting World Hunger. The call for abstracts actually ends tomorrow. So if you are engaged with any student work, whether it be undergraduate or graduate or high school work, please encourage them to submit. And also you all are welcome to attend as well as other students. So I will, when I stop speaking, I will post in the chat a link to the abstract call as well as information. We just have tentative information out right now about the summit and more details will be forthcoming in the new year. So thank you, Minerva, for letting me share.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you for your partnership. I hope you all know that Auburn University is a member of the Alliance, and they're also part of the Hunger Free Communities Network through the work that they're doing in Alabama. And so many of our partners have universities as part of their coalitions. So we certainly encourage you to send that out far and wide. Thank you so much. Luke, it looks like you added something in the chat here. I will. It's kind of long for me to read, so I'll go ahead and unmute you so you can share with us. All right, Luke, you should be good to go.
Hey, yeah, no, I just wanted to share an upcoming event we're doing here in Des Moines. We're holding our second Storytellers Roundtable on hunger and food insecurity, and are just excited to hold another of those. We held our first one in this past August, so just wanted to share.
Yeah, please tell us a little bit more about that. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so we work with people who use our food pantries or other kind of service organizations, just people who are experiencing food insecurity in our community. And it's a kind of half-day event. It's from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. And participants get a $100 stipend for attending. We can also help with transportation and childcare. And really just at the event, we're working kind of alongside everyone to help them kind of analyze their story through what we call kind of just like reframing the narrative, looking at first what society says is kind of maybe some misconceptions around the causes of poverty and hunger and food insecurity. And we try to, have people share about some of the barriers in their own lives toward that they face in achieving food security. And so in the morning, we kind of focus more on a systems analysis almost. One participant described it as group therapy. And then in the afternoon, we're working, we have some kind of free workshop time for everyone to write their stories. We have a couple folks who can help with writing. And then at the end, they all share their stories, and then everyone kind of fills out a survey afterwards. And part of that is ways that they'd like to stay engaged. So I'm really excited that at our second roundtable, we've got one of our participants from the first roundtable who's going to be kind of being one of the presenters and organizers for the event. So I'll put my email in the chat if you're interested in learning more. I'd be happy to connect.
Please do. Thank you so much, Luke. Really appreciate that. Anyone else want to share? All right. And if you think of something and you want to share it a little later, that's totally fine as well. So just moving along in the agenda, normally we would have a Hunger Free community group kind of give us, their story, who they are, what they're doing, because we think it's so important for you all to get to know what other groups are doing so that you can kind of, be as part of this network, really get to know who all the partners are and really what are some of the important connection points for you all. We're not doing that this time just because since it is the last meeting of the year, we wanted to do a little bit more of a debrief. We want to talk a little bit about the summit. I do want to share with you what the Alliance is thinking about in terms of its policy priorities, as well as talk a little bit about some work we'll be doing with the Hunger Free Communities Network in this upcoming year. And so the next thing on the agenda is and let me just take a quick look because I forget. All right, Hunger Free Communities Summit debrief. I know some of you were at the summit. And so just so you know, for those of you who are new to this group, we do have an annual 2-day conference. It's the Hunger Free Community Summit, where we gather the partners in this network to really highlight what's working in communities to effectively reduce food security and hunger as we try to sort of just, really move towards hunger-free communities. We invite all of our national partners, so groups like Feeding America and Share Our Strength, to to talk about important policy issues that they may be working on. So for example, National WIC Association talked about some of the important policy objectives for this upcoming year. They're a member of the Alliance. And one of the great things about the summit is that we do have the opportunity, because it is virtual, to record all of the sessions. So I'll ask Sarah to just drop in, for those of you who haven't seen it, the website where you can go to our website and see any of the sessions you may have missed, or watch everything if you weren't able to attend. Excuse me. Of course, my throat would get very scratchy at just the wrong time. But what I'd like to do, just open up right now for anyone who attended the summit, to just give us any feedback, what you liked, what maybe things you didn't like, what you think we could do differently, any topics you'd like to see that weren't covered, anything you walked away from. And again, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I'm sorry, folks, I'm gonna have to go ahead and get some water. Apologies, I was in a 4-hour meeting and I think it did me in. My throat is really dry. Okay. Did anyone want to talk about what they walked away from the summit with? Just feel free to raise your hand or let me know and I'll unmute you. I'm trying to figure out a way to unmute everyone, but I'm struggling. Sarah, do you want to get us started?
Sure, I'll share. So this was my first time attending the conference, and I thought it was a great opportunity to learn about the different efforts different communities and organizations are taking on nationwide, as well as getting updates on WIC and SNAP. And like Minerva mentioned, I dropped the link for all of the recordings. So if you missed anything, you can watch that now.
Thank you so much. And Luke, I see you added something. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Feel free to jump in.
It was my first time attending, and just really enjoyed, being able to take some breaks and kind of just watch it remotely. But also just all the presenters, I really enjoyed all the sessions, especially the equity sessions and the values-based food purchasing, as well as the SNAP updates.
Thank you. And thank you for presenting. Luke presented on a session of engaging faith-based partners in advocacy. And so certainly check out that session if you didn't get to see it live. All right. So we do go through, just so you all know, we do go through this process before, as we plan the summits, of just checking in with folks, asking for any suggested topics. There is also a process for those of you who are new to the Hunger Free Communities Network. We do go through a process where we ask our Hunger Free community partners to submit workshop proposals so that you can share what's working in your communities, things that you're really proud of that you'd like to see replicated in other communities. So for example, I know the End Child's Hunger in Alabama group that Alicia is affiliated with talked about a web-based food location. I think it's a food location app. And so that was very interesting to kind of see how they put that together and suggestions. They had they had a group in New York City that is using also similar technology. So sort of seeing some of these technological solutions, I think was interesting. And I know there were a lot of groups that kind of came away thinking they want to replicate something like that as well. So we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. The overall evaluations we got from the summit were pretty positive. And what some of the topics, and what we did was we're pulling a lot of the recommendations that came out of a number of the sessions to build into our policy priorities at the Alliance. So for example, I know Luke, you mentioned the fact that we had a plenary with people with lived experience from results, which was very powerful. And some of the things that they talked about, like having this cliff effect in terms of, being on benefits and then losing those benefits when they gain a few dollars in income, and how devastating that is in terms of the family budget and how difficult it is to sort of manage all of these things. So we're going to be looking at the Alliance. We're going to be looking with our partners as to what can we do on the policy side to try to mitigate that. So a number of the things that came out of the summit we'll be pulling into our policy priorities at the Alliance. So thank you for sharing that. And we're always open to any suggestions that folks might have. And so we can move on to the next agenda item unless somebody raises their hand and has something else to share. But before we do that, I do notice that Fatma, one of the Partnership for Hunger-Free Oregon, is with us, and you added a few updates, but I will go ahead and unmute you so you can share those, Fatma, with the group before we move on to the next topic.
Oh, thanks, Minerva, for setting up space for me. I'm Fatma. I use she, her pronouns. I'm from Hunger-Free Oregon. And I was just sharing in the chat a little bit about two key legislative campaigns that we have going on. So in Oregon, we go on a short session, long session schedule. So this upcoming session will be short session. And so the only way to kind of make key legislative changes is in the 2023 long session. So both of these campaigns will be hoping to pass legislation in that session in 2023. So right now we're in this campaign process with Client Bill of Rights. This is something that really came out of our community advisory board, the SNAP Client Advisory Board, to really say we need to have a clearer process when clients are accessing services and knowing what their rights are and kind of recognizing in data that there were discrimination, there were different ways that people were being handled in cases if they were BIPOC community members versus not, and kind of knowing that we need to have something that is written in Oregon law that kind of identifies not only what client rights are that are accessing DHS services, including SNAP, but also kind of sets up a process of accountability as well, and kind of tracking and managing that data to get better knowledge for our state. And so that's something that we're working on right now, and are doing this so in partnership and getting buy-in with Oregon Department of Human Services, as well as some legislative champions. So that's one key initiative that we have. And then the other is we're really looking at addressing food insecurity for immigrants and refugees in our state. And this really came out of acknowledging in federal benefit programs, a lot of immigrants are excluded from federal benefits like SNAP based on their immigration status. So COFA Islanders, TPS, DACA recipients, kind of that whole swath, and saying for Oregon, we really want to set up an environment where everyone is able to access food support, and then also mixed in with some of the chilling effect that we've seen from public charge and things like that. So this is really a campaign that we're hoping to have something that is state funded to address those needs. So we're rooting right now in hearing from the community. We're going to do a series of community input events to hear from community members directly about what the needs are, what they would really need out of a program, what would help them achieve food security. And then we're going to take all of that information and be able to design a policy concept with it that will move through. We're hoping to secure a legislative champion by July of 2022 and have the policy geared up to pass in that legislative session. And we're doing this in coalition with about 10 other immigrant justice organizations and culturally specific organizations in our state, and really kind of honing in on collaborative decision-making there. So I think that's pretty much the big sum up of all of that. I'm open if anyone has any questions, or I'm also really curious if others have similar campaigns that we can learn from. So I'm going to go ahead and put my email in the chat, and feel free to contact me because I would love to hear from what other states are doing and what's worked and how this has gone, if you also have been doing similar initiatives. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing, Fatma. So again, if anyone else wants to share, just please raise your hand and I will go ahead and unmute you. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, because one of the things I did want to, one of our strategic goals, the Alliance to End Hunger did a strategic plan this year, and we really want to do better alignment between advocacy at the federal level and just engaging our hunger-free community partners in that advocacy. And so I'm going to share like our draft 2022 Alliance to End Hunger advocacy priorities. Okay. And so I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully you all can see this. So these priorities are developed by our advisory, our advocacy council. So the Alliance to End Hunger, all of the members are invited to be part of an advocacy committee. And that advocacy committee helps us determine our priorities, because we are a membership organization. We also have a Hunger-Free Communities Advisory Council, which is our lived experience advisory council, and they are weighing in on these priorities as well. And so this is sort of where we are with the draft, and I just wanted to share this with all of you, so you kind of have a sense of what our 2022 advocacy priorities are. And if any of you have any feedback on these, would love to hear it. But where you feel like you're in alignment in terms of what, if these priorities being important to your organizations, we'd love to further engage with you. And one of the other things we've been doing, and I noticed some of you on the call have been part of these meetings, where we have meetings with members of Congress in your state. You know, we really want to engage you in those meetings, whether it's right now we're doing Build Back Better advocacy to make sure some of the nutrition and anti-poverty provisions of Build Back Better get included in the final Senate version of Build Back Better. We're engaging some of you if we have meetings in your states. And so we want to continue that work where, you know, we are engaging, if we're engaging your members of Congress, your senators, we want you to be part of that conversation. So just to give you a sense, our overarching themes for 2022 really came out of our strategic plan, and that's to end hunger, to improve health outcomes for vulnerable communities, and to ensure greater equity in anti-hunger policies. Those are our overarching themes, and our domestic priorities break down into legislative and non-legislative priorities. Legislative priorities will not be a surprise, will continue to be child nutrition reauthorization. You know, as long as this doesn't get passed, it's going to continue to be a priority. But ensuring greater access, efficiency, and equity through WIC and summer meals, school meals, and CACFP programs. And Farm Bill, we'll start talking about the Farm Bill very soon. The Farm Bill reauthorization is happening in 2023, I believe, if I remember that correctly, but we're going to start laying out what are the alliance priorities around the Farm Bill in January. And so we'll focus on the nutrition title, greater access, equity, and operational efficiencies, and improved benefit levels in SNAP, as well as improving operational flexibilities and local food procurement and distribution of culturally appropriate foods, and TFAP, the DIPPER, which is a distribution in indigenous communities, as well as CSFP, which is a distribution program for older Americans, for those of you who may not be familiar. TFAP is the food that goes to food banks. So that's distributed primarily through the charitable networks. And then other parts of the Farm Bill we want to look at are things that address supply chain issues, which are so prevalent now, reduce food waste, and improve program access in rural communities and among hard to reach populations, socially disadvantaged populations. So this could be seniors. We've seen a spike in hunger during the pandemic for seniors, particularly seniors of color. So that will shape up as we go along, but those are the broad priorities. Other things we'll care about legislatively are Older Americans Act, particularly supporting for senior nutrition programs like Meals on Wheels, as well as tax credits. We've been really supporting improvements and expansion of the earned income tax credit and child tax credit for a while now because of the budgetary impacts those have on families, as well as advocating for robust funding of all of our priority programs. So, and then our non-legislative priorities are supporting a White House conference on food, nutrition, hunger, and health. I happen to know for Auburn University that is also a major priority, and a number of our members are really promoting that the White House do a conference, which we haven't seen since the 60s, to focus on food, nutrition, hunger, and health in the U.S. And also employing strategies for making equity actionable. So equity is an important value in everything we do. And so continuing to engage people with lived experience in setting our priorities and shaping our tactics, improving the participant experience of federal nutrition programs. So where can we do advocacy that's going to improve the day-to-day experience of people who are using federal nutrition programs? And again, addressing the cliff effects, which I mentioned earlier in federal nutrition programs. So I'm going to pause there. These are draft priorities, and I wanted to show them to everyone in this stage because we haven't finalized adopting our priorities yet, and would love to hear from you if you have any other suggestions. If you think these look good to you, please use your reaction buttons and give me a thumbs up. If you have some comments to make, please raise your hand. But feel free to email us or put something in the chat if you want to. Just let us know what you're thinking of these priorities, which will be overall priorities for the Alliance. So as we move forward, we want to engage you all where these priorities line up with yours and when we're advocating in your state. So if there's no discussion on this, and at this point I don't see a raised hand, I do see something in the chat. Great question Alexander is raising. Has there been any discussion around the A, which is for adults, the Child and Adult Care Feeding Program? So our advocacy for the child nutrition reauthorization will be around the child's piece. I think we started a conversation with you all about what can be done for adults to better access this program. I think that we can continue that conversation. We haven't listed it since I don't think we have a clear strategy of how we would do that as a priority area, but it's a conversation we're still very much interested in having. So I would say let's continue the conversation. Thank you, Alexander. Appreciate it. Awesome. And I think, and I apologize, Amanda, I'm only giving you 5 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. But I did want to introduce Amanda Bankston. She's a student at Syracuse University, and I'll let her introduce herself. But first, let me, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, Amanda, and turn on your video if you like. So Amanda's agreed to work with us to help, for those of you who are familiar with our Hunger-Free Community Impact Framework, just to do a little refresh of that framework and to hopefully get input from all of you. So Amanda, why don't you introduce yourself and what we're thinking about doing this year?
Yeah, hi y'all. Thank you, Minerva. I don't even think I need 5 minutes. I think you just got to the gist of what I need to talk about today. But first, I want to say it's such a privilege to be on this call. As Minerva said, I'm a PhD student at the Maxwell School at Syracuse, where I study all things collaboration. Great people coming together to do good in their communities, create stronger, more resilient, more equitable communities. And I'm on the right call because I'm hearing about the great work that you all are doing. And it makes me all the more excited to write these final papers. So thank you for that. With that, I'm excited about the opportunity to look at this impact framework and bring it to life in your experiences. So I know you're incredibly busy, but my first question, I have 3 questions for you. My first is, do you have 30 minutes to an hour of your time? If you don't even have that much, do you have time to write me an email and be in dialogue with me? And that's because I heard a couple times on this call, I want to learn from you. I want to learn from others. That's exactly the aim of this project. That's looking at these best practices, how to build a coalition and build toward collective action and collective impact by creating, I'm not going to use the word toolkit because they're really ubiquitous at this point, but some type of resource. So my second question is, what resources do you need? What knowledge, what information gaps? Where are you at in your process and how are you making sense of it? If you have those types of questions, please reach out. What do you wish people were researching? What would you add to the impact framework? And so the third question is really, are there core competencies and skills that you wish you had as you're navigating this complex terrain? If you want to talk about any of that cool stuff, I know I only have 5 minutes, but please reach out. I'll drop my email in the chat and you'll be getting more information, I'm sure, via email. But I wanted you to put a face to a name and know that we're really excited about moving this forward and creating resources that you can use in your communities. So thanks for your time and please reach out. You'll get my email shortly.
Wonderful. Thank you, Amanda, for that little teaser. And we're really excited. You know, some of you are new to the Alliance, so you may not be familiar with the Hunger-Free Communities Impact Framework, and we will reintroduce you to that, as well as talk about how can we improve it and what are the competencies that are needed to go, you know, from just starting out to being a really high-performing Hunger-Free community partner, and how can we at the Alliance provide and curate tools and resources to help you get there. So we're so excited to be working with Amanda, who's going to be putting a lot of brain power, and she and Sarah will be reaching out to do sort of individual dialogues, as well as hosting some group meetings where we can just move this process forward. So that's what we have to look forward to in 2022. And we're so excited to have you all as partners. And you know, we're almost at time. So if anyone has a final thought, I'm happy to open the floor. Please just go ahead and raise your hand. Otherwise, I will thank everyone for your time today and say we'll see you in the new year. All right.